That catchphrase. Would you believe Don Adams didn't get it from the writers? He brought it from his stand-up act and rebuilt the character around it. 5 seasons, 2 networks, a villain organization with no ideology whatsoever, a shoe that beat the cell phone by 2 decades, and a spy who genuinely never got better at his job. The creative mind behind this show came within one network meeting of never reaching television at all. The wrong network said yes, and the whole thing changed. We're going to get into which network almost buried one of the most quoted comedies in American television history.
Are all our agents at their proper checkpoints?
Number 10. Evil with no explanation. The enemy organization on Get Smart never once explained what it actually believed in, and that was entirely the point. KAOS was described on screen as an international organization of evil, and given exactly 0 political ideology beyond that. No manifesto, no geopolitical grievance, no Cold War allegiance. In the 1960s, when every spy thriller required its villain to represent a specific, nameable threat, communism, fascism, nuclear ambition, Mel Brooks and Buck Henry deliberately left KAOS as a blank. Evil for profit, chaos as its own end. The name said everything the writers intended to say. The payoff was sharper than it first looked. By refusing to name an enemy ideology, the show quietly made the entire spy thriller genre look absurd. If the threat can't be defined, what exactly is anyone defending against? KAOS agents were written as just as bumbling as Maxwell Smart, which doubled the satire without the audience necessarily needing to register it consciously.
Yeah, what I tell you, perfect.
Number 9. The network nobody remembers. Most people remember Get Smart as an NBC show. That's only half right. NBC aired the first 4 seasons from 1965 to 1969, during which the show became one of the most watched comedies on American television. Then, NBC canceled it. CBS stepped in immediately and picked up Get Smart for a 5th and final season in 1969 to 1970. That CBS season also carried the most significant story development in the entire series. Maxwell Smart and Agent 99 had married in season 4 on NBC, and that marriage was now CBS's to manage. Syndication then scrambled the memory further. Reruns for decades afterward drew overwhelmingly from the NBC seasons, which effectively erased the CBS year from most viewers' picture of the show.
Hello, honey.
Number 8. 138 episodes. 0 improvement. Maxwell Smart was on television for 5 seasons, 138 episodes, and never absorbed a single lesson from any of them. His incompetence wasn't a character arc, it was a fixed constant of the show's universe. He regularly caused the exact disasters he'd been sent to prevent. He stumbled into resolutions by accident and claimed full credit without hesitation. Unlike virtually every other television protagonist of the 1960s, Smart was structurally immune to growth, experience, or consequence. That's a real creative commitment. 138 times the same man made the same category of errors, and 138 times the audience came back to watch him do it again. There's something almost philosophical about a comedic engine that durable. A joke that never stops working because the punchline never changes.
That's right, Stalker. From here to the gate and back again.
Number 7. The ending nobody saw coming. In the final season, Get Smart ended not with a mission completed, but with a family. Agent 99 gave birth to twins in season 5 on CBS. A boy and a girl, both appearing in multiple episodes before the series closed. Maxwell Smart, the most accident-prone operative in the history of fictional intelligence, became a father. The show that opened as a Cold War spy parody finished as something closer to a domestic comedy with classified paperwork on the side. Most casual viewers never saw any of it. Syndication packages ran so heavily from the NBC seasons that the marriage, the pregnancy, and the twins were effectively invisible to anyone who caught the show in reruns over the following 30 years. The season 5 family arc was among the most watched television that almost no one remembered watching.
You've just arrived. You're more physically up to it.
Number 6. The shoe that required a stunt double. The most famous prop in 1960s television comedy wasn't one object. It was an entire system of objects running simultaneously. The shoe phone required multiple purpose-built versions in production at the same time. A hero version for close-ups, where the detail needed to read cleanly on camera. A stunt version for pratfall scenes, because Don Adams' physical comedy would have destroyed a precision prop in a single take. Adams reportedly kept one of the hero props when the series ended, which tells you something about how much the shoe phone had become inseparable from his relationship to the character. The prop also predated the consumer mobile phone by roughly 20 years, which transformed what was originally an absurdist comedy gag into an accidental piece of technology prophecy. Nobody in 1965 planned that part. Number 5. The smartest person in every room. Agent 99 wasn't written as the competent sidekick who makes the lead look better by contrast. She was written as the competent one, and the show never played that for laughs. Barbara Feldon's 99 was explicitly and consistently more capable than Maxwell Smart across all 5 seasons. The writers played her intelligence completely straight. She made the correct calls, identified the real threats, and spent most of her screen time rescuing situations that Smart had already made worse. Feldon herself held a degree from Carnegie Mellon and brought a precise, understated quality to the role that made 99 feel like the only fully functioning adult in any scene she occupied. The result was one of American television's earliest female characters, whose competence was structural to the show's premise rather than decorative to it.
And lose $5?
Number 4. The gag that fooled the censors. The Cone of Silence was one of the most beloved recurring gags in the show's entire run, and also one of the sharpest pieces of political satire on 1960s American television. The network's standards reviewers largely missed the second part. The premise was simple: a plastic dome lowered over Maxwell Smart and the chief whenever a private conversation was required, rendering communication completely impossible. The security apparatus existed to perform security, not to actually provide it. In the 1960s, that was a precise description of real Cold War bureaucracy, the elaborate, expensive, thoroughly dysfunctional secrecy machinery of American intelligence agencies, rendered as a prop that failed every single time. Standards reviewers, focused on language and physical content, passed the gag without objection.
Here's where we might as well get started. Now, what I'm about to tell you must not leave this room.
Number 3. The inspiration behind the idiot. Maxwell Smart wasn't simply a James Bond parody. Mel Brooks built him from something more specific and more personal than that. Brooks described the character's origin as a very particular type of aggressively self-confident, deeply incompetent government bureaucrat, the kind he had observed throughout his life and found both infuriating and endlessly funny. The comedic engine he and Buck Henry locked in before casting anyone was the gap between total confidence and total incompetence. That gap was the architecture of the entire show. So Get Smart was fundamentally a piece of satire about institutional failure, about the bureaucratic certainty that operates completely independently of any supporting evidence, dressed in a tuxedo and handed a shoe phone. The specific human behavior Brooks was targeting never went out of season. Smart wasn't a clown dropped into a spy story. He was the institutional failure that made the spy story run. Number 2. The network that said no first. Before NBC ever heard the pitch, Get Smart went to ABC, and ABC passed. Brooks and Henry brought the concept to ABC first. ABC's development team declined, reportedly pushing for a harder, less absurdist approach that would have pulled the show away from the anarchic vision the two writers had built. NBC picked it up instead and let that original vision survive intact. The catchphrases, the Cone of Silence, the entire satirical register of the series, all traced directly back to NBC saying yes after ABC said no. One development meeting that went the wrong way became the entire legacy of the show.
Stand by to execute checkpoint tracking plan.
Number 1. The line he wrote himself. The single most quoted phrase in the entire history of Get Smart was never written by Mel Brooks or Buck Henry. Don Adams wrote it himself years before the show existed. Would you believe the signature escalating improbability bluff that defined Maxwell Smart's comedic identity and became one of the most imitated catchphrases of 1960s American television was material Adams had developed and road-tested extensively in his stand-up act before the show was ever conceived. When he was cast, the phrase came with him. Brooks and Henry wrote it into the character's vocabulary, and from that point, it became the most recognizable verbal signature in the series. That makes Would You Believe one of the clearest examples in American television history of a performer's pre-existing creative material genuinely reshaping a written character's identity. Adams wasn't interpreting what the writers gave him. He was partly authoring what Smart became. The line you can still hear in your head, the rhythm you probably imitated at some point. The cadence that became shorthand for a certain kind of comedic bluff. That came from a stand-up stage most people have never thought about, not from the writer's room everyone instinctively credits. Maxwell Smart was more Don Adams than anyone wrote him to be.
Criminal genius, known as the Dutchman.
Bonus fact, 3 years, nobody else got close. Don Adams won the Emmy for Outstanding Continued Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role in a Comedy Series 3 consecutive years, 1967, 1968, and 1969. 3 consecutive wins in the same category for the same perpetually bumbling character, competing against some of the most celebrated comedy performers working in American television at the time, not a default sweep through a weak field. The Get Smart series accumulated 7 Emmy wins across its run in total. What most casual viewers don't carry with them is that Adams's 3-year lock on that individual award represented genuine industry consensus. Maxwell Smart The most professionally static character in 1960s television was one of the most technically demanding comedic performances on the air at the time. Playing stupid convincingly for 5 seasons at a level that wins 3 consecutive Emmys is not the easiest job in show business. It just looks that way, which was, of course, entirely the point. 138 episodes, 2 networks, a plastic dome that satirized Cold War intelligence for 5 seasons without anyone in a suit noticing, and a finale that left Maxwell Smart raising twins while most of the audience never knew it happened. The show worked on every level it tried. The slapstick, the satire, the character writing. Which of these landed hardest for you? The KAOS ideology gap, Adams bringing the catchphrase from his stand-up, or the entire 5th season existing in a kind of syndication blind spot? Drop it in the comments. This has been Agent 86 reporting. Missed it by that much.